Welcome back. We're here to look ahead to Saturday's game between Watford and West Brom. Barnes will start with West Brom, the first Monday night football of the season. They got absolutely hammered by City.
Yeah, and I don't think it helped them playing on the Monday night with Man City. I think they're really in the mood because Chelsea and Arsenal both dropped points over the weekend. West Brom couldn't really get close to them because they were on the back foot the whole time. Man City were passing the ball so well. They looked at their best when they didn't throughout the whole of last season. City were back at their best, the likes of Toure, Silva, Boston midfield. West Brom just couldn't get close. They offered nothing going forward really. There was that one Berahino chance where he fluffed his lines, but apart from that they spent their whole time on the back foot and they couldn't get anything going really. After the game, Pulis, he took the blame for the defeat. One of the first goal was quite unlucky, you got to say that, but it was coming, and there's no arguments about City running out such comfortable winners. I can't imagine after Pulis took the blame for the defeat that they'll be anywhere near. I think they'll be a lot more compact and tight in this next match because Pulis said he set the team up too loosely, and I don't think he'll make the same mistake twice. But yeah, a pretty poor start to the season for them.
Certainly was. I think when he looks back at all three goals, you'll certainly see that they're quite avoidable. Like you said, the first one was unlucky. The second one, if you let Yaya Toure go for just even that long, he'll punish you. And then obviously the third one from a set piece, which Pulis is going to hate conceding from a set piece. So very disappointing start because the mood at the start of the game was quite good. They presented Solomon Rondon to the crowd. Their new club record signing, £12 million. That's a lot of money for him, and it'll be interesting to see how he fits in. At the moment, they've got three strikers there. Rondon, Lambert and Berahino, who all probably think they should be starting, and arguably in some games he should only be starting one of them, let alone two, so it's going to be interesting to see what he does. Rondon, had a very good Copa America with Venezuela, scored a couple of goals there, and he's been over in Russia, so he's sort of players that have gone out there, you wonder if they sort of maybe lose their way a bit because they obviously go in there because of the big money over there. It's the big sort of lure to go over to Russia, but coming to the Premier League, it'll be a big sort of wake up call for him, and it'll be interesting to see how he adapts.
Yeah, and as you say, interesting to see who does start because Lambert moved to the club for first team football. I think whether he will start, you'd have to think he'd be the first to get dropped out of them, but whether he will start depends on Berahino's future. A lot of talk about that this summer. Tottenham are reportedly very interested in him. Personally, I think it'd be a mistake for him to move this summer. I don't think he's going to start ahead of Kane, and I don't think Pochettino's going to adapt his formation to accommodate Berahino, so I think it'd be a mistake. He's playing regular first team football at a decent level for West Brom. I'd expect them to push for top half this season, so for me, in terms of his development, I think it's best for him to stay put this summer. Maybe if he has another good season, push on. I'd expect him to push on to get full England honours this in the upcoming season, and once he does that, maybe add a few more £1 million to his transfer fee as well, then he might be able to push on. But for this summer, I think it's important for both player and the club to keep him.
Certainly, it was a really tough start for West Brom against City. In this game, it'd be a very difficult one as well, going to Watford. Their first home game back in the Premier League after 8 years, I think it is. And Watford, they got off to a great start. Went to Everton there, a 2-2 draw, led twice in that game. Flores, the new manager, he will be annoyed they couldn't quite see the result out. But if you'd offered him a draw beforehand, he probably would have taken it going to Everton like that. Big club, and very, very impressive performance from them. Leon got the first goal, put them ahead, and then once Barkley, Everton was struggling against them, and Barkley screaming, Watford would have still been leading, but they didn't let it hang on them too much. The fact that Barkley equalised, Igalo had come on in the second half, and he scored a brilliant goal. He twisting and turning on the edge of the box, absolutely did John Stones. Supposedly one of the best young centre backs in the league. Got him on his bum, and then it was a great finish from him. So really good from him, but they couldn't quite see it out in the end. But I think a point at Everton at Goodison Park, very, very positive start.
Yeah, and you mentioned Igalo there. I think it's going to be interesting to see if he starts up front alongside, obviously Deeney's going to start, if Kiko Flores changes his formation for this match, because you'd think playing away against Everton understandably goes a bit more defensive. Here against a team who got thumped on the opening day of the season, you'd think it'd go a bit more attacking. First home game of the season, first home game back in the Premier League. You'd probably start with two strikers, so it'll be interesting to see change of formation. Alman Abdi might be back as well, which would be a big boost for the club. I think their chances will depend on how quickly they gel. They've got pretty much a whole new defence. 3 new defenders started against in their opening match, and brand new central midfield as well. 3 new central midfielders in there, so it's very important to see how quickly they gel.
So I think he's got to find the sort of right formula quickly, because they've signed so many new players this summer. There's still a couple that are out injured, like Britos. He's going to come back. Angela, who was one of their best defenders last year, he played on the bench and didn't start against Everton. So it'd be interesting. He needs to find that formula quickly. I think stick with it. But so certainly Watford, after a really encouraging result, I think they'll really fancy this one. What's your score prediction?
It's quite a tough one to call, because I don't think there's any problems with Watford going forward. I think they've got goals in them with Deeney, Igalo and Vidja in reserve as well. But as I say, I think Pulis is going to keep this one tight, so it could be separated by the odd goal, but I think I'm going to go for a 0-0 draw.
0-0, yeah. I think you're right. It could be a much tighter game. I think Everton Watford certainly took advantage of some of their weaknesses last week. But I think Watford, I think they looked quite good last week, and I think it will be a tight game. But I'm going to back them to edge it 1-0. So we've got one draw and a Watford win. Thanks for joining us.